Hey guys, how's it going? And thanks for coming. I'm Nick, and this is Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money, because schools aren't, so let's get started. So this is another stock market weekly recap. If you've been following us, welcome back. And if you're new, what we do is we look at the previous week in the stock market, look at some popular news stories, some individual stocks, mutual funds, to see what's going on. So let's get into it. Now, first of all, sorry for the late post. I usually do post it earlier on in the weekend. I had a couple corporate parties going on. But I definitely wanted to get this out there because it was a big week in the stock market. Huge moves. So what's going on? So first, looking at the Dow, guys, the first thing that you should notice is we are above the 24,000 mark. It did break that mark finally on Thursday. You could see it shot past the 24,000. The Dow for this week is up very nicely of 2.86%. So for year to date is nicely over 20%. And the other index, S&P 500, we're going into it, guys, but you could see a lot of things were happening. We're going into for Wednesday. Friday was an interesting day, but S&P 500 up around 1.5%. And the other index of the NASDAQ, you could see something definitely went down on Wednesday, but for the NASDAQ, they were down 0.6% for this week. So first, let's break it down. On Wednesday, there was a massive tech sell-off. So basically, any stock that was tech-related, and you'll see in a bunch of the stocks that we normally look at, they went down massively on Wednesday. And if it wasn't tech related, then the stock actually did fairly well. You could see the Dow was fine for this week, broke 24,000. And then on Friday, there were some things going on. Well, first there was also the tax reform. So most likely that bill of the different taxes of the 35% being dropped down to 20% corporate tax, that's probably going through. I think they might be signing it before Christmas, I heard. And on Friday, there was also that thing with an ex-Trump member during the election that he pleaded guilty to interacting with Russia and lying to the president or the vice president and FBI, something like that. So that's bad news. So that's why it kind of got hit a little bit on Friday. All right, so first let's talk about the tech sell-off on Wednesday. You could saw on the NASDAQ, it did go around over 1% drop, but the FANG stocks, I did talk about a couple times in the past, I believe, but FANG, F-A-A-N-G, that stands for Facebook, Apple's in there, Amazon, Netflix, and Google. So those were huge downsides. So let's look at it. I'll go a little bit out of order, but so following that FANG acronym, F for Facebook, you could see on Wednesday they dropped 4% on Wednesday alone. For the week, they are 4.2% down, around 175. Of course, year to date is still very nice, but for the first FANG stock, got destroyed on Wednesday. Moving up on the second FANG stock, which is Apple, you can see they were around 171. On Wednesday, they were down just over 2%, and similar for the week, around 2.24% they were down. Next tech stock in FANG, Amazon, you can see Amazon is doing phenomenal this year, but they were down to 1162. On Wednesday, they were down around 2.7%. And for the week, around 2%. Coming up on Netflix, were hit very hard on Wednesday. They closed around 186. On Wednesday, they were down 5.5%. And for the week, they were down around 4.5%. And last but not least, Google. They were at 1010. On Wednesday alone, they were down almost 2.5%. And for the week, they were closing almost down 3% for the entire week. So obviously for all of these guys, these tech stocks, for this year, you cannot deny the fact they were up massively. And all of these tech stocks, these that I showed you, but there are a ton of others that were huge movers for this week that just dropped like a brick. Definitely a sell-off for Wednesday. Now, one reason for this happening, for this tech sell-off, I heard one reason was profit taking, which makes complete sense. Where these huge fund managers, probably mostly hedge fund managers, they did phenomenal with these stocks for this year. A lot of stocks, 40, 50, 60%. Other stocks are up like over 100%. So it's closing in on the end of the year. So they're just taking their profits. So a bunch of them sold off. So you could see why this sell-off happened. So that makes sense. Now, another thing that I noticed is, obviously, these are all tech-related stocks. And however, on Wednesday, just the opposite happened for bank stocks. So let me show you JP Morgan Chase, obviously huge bank, probably the largest bank in the world. But on Wednesday, you see with the other stocks, a bunch of them were down over 2%. JP Morgan was up over 2%. Now, this could be seen as a sector rotation. So people might be getting out of tech stocks and be moving into financial stocks relating to the tax reform. Of course, that huge tax rate for corporate taxes, that 35% dropping to 20%. So obviously banks are going to do very, very well for that. So that's why bank stocks and financial stocks went up massively. So with that tax drop alone, financial companies are looking, well, a lot of companies, but more specifically financial companies are looking very, very attractive. So it might, those trendy tech stocks might be coming out of their popularity and financial stocks might be the new thing. So let's move on to the other regular companies that we normally look at with Disney. Disney actually did the exact opposite of these tech stocks. Wednesday did very nice. But for this week, they were up just over 2.5%, closing at 105.25. And you can see finally Disney is positive for the year. So yes, pretty crappy year for Disney. That was definitely a dip. If you guys remember, it did dip below $100 a share. So if you guys got in there, it's probably starting to rebound. Is it a good buy for right now? Honestly, I would kind of suggest it. Suggest it. That's how you pronounce it. But definitely for the future, it's Disney. Everyone knows them, so I'm pretty sure that it's a safe play. The rest of the other stocks were tech plays, so let's move on to Starbucks. Starbucks did pretty good this week, up around 0.92%. Year to date, just over 3%, closing at 57.32, and they are slowly but surely rebounding since we started looking at them as well. So with those couple extra stocks that we looked at, you could see if you weren't a tech company on Wednesday, you did pretty good actually. So that's why diversification is actually a very important thing. You can't stick all your money in, like Google, let's say, or you can't stick all your money in, one stock. I would suggest splitting that up for this reason. If tech stocks get slammed, then your whole portfolio is going to get slammed. Even if you have multiple tech stocks, like if you had Amazon, Facebook, Google, they all went down because it's the same sector. So when you diversify, pick different sectors. And a good segue for that is mutual funds. Mutual fund is, if you're looking at which stocks to buy, is actually the best thing to do for diversification, just because a mutual fund holds multiple stocks, holds probably like hundreds of stocks instead of just one. So if one stock goes down, then the whole mutual fund doesn't do horrible. So you could see with Fidelity Contra Fund, yes, it was down for this week. It was down around almost 0.5%, because it does hold a lot of tech companies. However, it wasn't down as much as it could be if it was just fully tech related. So as an extra, that's why I show you guys a mutual fund as well, because you can see that, mutual funds don't have like huge ups and huge downs, but for that reason, because they are diversified. And if you don't know which stock to pick, the mutual funds or index funds, I would definitely suggest them. Safe investment for the long term. Remember, long term. And of course, I gotta talk about it because it's the freaking hottest thing on the market right now. Everyone's talking about it. Normal people that normally don't invest are talking about it. It's freaking nuts. It is Bitcoin. This week was ridiculous. You could see the ups and downs for Bitcoin. Again, guys, I'm not investing in it. I probably never will. Again, some people think it's a bubble. Some people are still investing in it. We'll just have to see, of course. But you could see for, Wednesday and Thursday, it rocketed past 10,000, eventually hit 11,000. You can see right now it's back up, but then it dropped back below 10,000, then it rebounded back up to 11,000. So it is just all over the place. Very, very, very volatile. So for the rest of the year, guys, it should definitely be very interesting. We'll see what happens with the tax reforms and how the stocks are going to react to that. Will Bitcoin crash? And we are eventually getting closer and closer to 2018. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money, because not many people do. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.